Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show, Red Pill Edition. My name is Leon Jones, and in this segment, I'm going to give you my analysis on the second debate between President Donald Trump and Vice President Joe Biden. So the title of this evening's video is Trump versus Biden, Part 2, Debate Analysis. Trump versus Biden, Part 2, Debate Analysis. Now, after going through an hour and a half watching both parties go back and forth, I believe in this debate, President Trump was a little more calm. He stayed on the issues. Now, some of the issues that were missing, especially when it came to the race, I did not hear Joe Biden denounce Antifa or Black Lives Matter. I didn't hear anything about police when the topic of national security came into the equation. I didn't hear anything about taxes. Now, Joe Biden said he is going to raise taxes on individuals making $400,000 and greater. Now, what is wrong with that? What is wrong with that is there are not enough people who are making $400,000 and up. And the individuals who make a lot of money have tax shelters. They're going to use a lot of itemized deductions to avoid paying a large sum of taxes. Now, what happens? The middle man, or let's say the middle class, will end up paying all the taxes. Also, I didn't hear anything about school choice. But when you clear out all the smoke, there is a difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. And I saw it tonight. Now, the moderator, she actually did a pretty good job. Although she worked for NBC, the debate was one that the American people won. And with that, the American people saw a contrast between the two candidates. Now, for me, it didn't count because I already voted. I did early voting, and I suggest everybody get out to vote. Now, when I look at the nonverbal communication, that's with the movements of the body. Joe Biden was on his heels from what I saw. He was asked about the fracking, okay? He said he was not going to alleviate fracking, but there are a number of videos going around, and President Trump had one at his Pennsylvania rally where Joe Biden said he would alleviate fracking. Now, there wasn't anything in there about Kamala Harris locking up African American males. However, or let's say, but when it came to overall substance, I saw a clear distinction between Joe Biden and President Trump. Now, the part that some people may have been thrown was the energy part. Now, I live here in Indiana, and when I drive along I-65, particularly going up there toward Rensselaer and Chicago, we have wind farms. There are also a lot of solar panels. Well, renewable energy doesn't create the jobs that were forecast. Renewable energy is still new. And one of the reasons why our gas prices are down is because we're not dependent on foreign oil. And fracking is a big part of the energy process. Now, if a number of you don't know what fracking is, it's when water or you have a chemical that's sent down to break up all the rock. And when the rock is broken up, natural gas or oil is pumped up and delivered for energy. And when it comes to energy as well, natural gas is a good substance of energy. Now, Biden's plan, and believe you me, he said he wanted to get rid of oil. The renewable energy plan that he really has is to knock down every building, build all these green buildings. Well, when you knock down buildings, that costs money. And when you put new buildings up, that costs money. That also causes a lot of inconvenience. So, on the renewable energy, I want everybody to look at their gas prices. Your gas prices should tell you everything. Now, here in Indiana, we're running, I know the lowest I've seen is 193 up to 216. Every state is different. Now, the school choice. Donald Trump did prove that when you lock down children, it doesn't help them. In fact, when it comes to the coronavirus, a good immune system will kill off the coronavirus. And when it comes to the coronavirus, I believe Donald Trump mentioned stroke, he mentioned other cancers. They're also contributors of the coronavirus because they inflame the coronavirus. Remember, the coronavirus has to do with your respiratory system. Now, talking about the coronavirus, Joe Biden did say in January that Donald Trump was xenophobic if he closed travel from China down. Well, he did it for a reason because he knew something was out there. Now, did he tell the public? No. Now, should he have told the public? I don't think so, because unless you have the facts about something, you don't want to get everybody in an uproar. Because I can tell you one thing about this country, it's gotten weaker because a number of individuals are in their feelings. And speaking of in their feelings, Joe Biden gave a number of rambling parts of the debate about character, when what's coming out now is proving that his family has been corrupt when it comes to taking money from China. He didn't want to answer that, and I'm surprised that hasn't been brought up more. I didn't hear anything about the Supreme Court. Now, when it comes to Obamacare is a tough one, but if you eliminate the mandate, that helps. One thing that Joe Biden forgot when it comes to being president, you have to have a Congress that's going to support your agenda. So if you have the presidency and you don't have Congress, nothing is getting through, because when it comes to what's going on in politics today, what you see is nothing more than partisan politics. Now, if I'm going to put out a health plan, I would do this. If you have a small business, let the small businesses get under an umbrella like the SBA, the Small Business Administration, and the small businesses can purchase insurance from the Small Business Administration. Number two, let's have some oversight from federal government on what companies can charge. Now, I know I said I don't believe in big government, but you need to have some government, because There is a lot going on with the pharmaceuticals out here and the insurance industries where people are getting large amounts of money. So you need government oversights to eliminate price collusion. Number three, we're already doing it anyway. Let's just have free health care or free clinics for people who can't afford who can't afford health care. Sorry, I'm sounding like Joe Biden. Yes, free clinics for people who can't afford health care. Number four, tort reform. If you eliminate tort reform, you will eliminate the cost of a lot of legalities and suits for companies who are being sued or they're trying to sue. In other words, loser pays. It's tort reform. And number five, let's have health care across state lines. Right now, many of your healthcare companies are in the state now, or in your state where you live. Also, we may be able to expand Medicaid. That would be my healthcare plan. But again, going back to Joe Biden, he sounded like a typical politician. He's always telling stories when he's asked a question. Okay, he talks about living in Scranton. He barely lived in Scranton. He lives in Delaware. Delaware is a blip on the radar. Okay, Delaware is not too much larger than Rhode Island is. It's only 3 counties. I lived in Maryland, and it would take me about 10 minutes to go through Delaware, going up I-95 into New Jersey and into Pennsylvania. Delaware does not have a large population. Wilmington and Dover, okay, you got Claymont up there. Those are your biggest areas. And then you have Rehoboth Beach. But Delaware is not a large state. Now, Delaware used to be a place where people went for getting credit cards because companies in Delaware had low interest rates. Also, if you had a business and you went to Delaware, it was cheaper to have a business in Delaware because the taxes are low. Now, going to the stimulus bill, I wish more was asked about that. The problem that I see right now when we look at the numbers, people giving up on work. We have a number of people who are still getting subsidies from the federal government, and they're getting unemployment from their state. So they're still making more money not going to work than they would as if they were working. So what does that do? That does not encourage individuals to go back to work. And you cannot lock everything down when it comes to the coronavirus, because the coronavirus affects each state differently. Now, what Trump should have done earlier is put more emphasis on wearing a mask. But Dr. Fauci said masks don't help. They may make you feel good, but they don't help. Then Dr. Fauci turned around and said, well, you need a mask. So Dr. Fauci has flipped. And I remember Joe Biden talked about the science. You see, you have all these experts out here, and you have politicians trying to deal with the coronavirus. The Democrats wouldn't care if anything shut down, because the Democrats could put forth their socialist agenda. And that's another thing. Going back to the crime. Now, I mentioned this before. I wish Kamala Harris was brought up for her being a attorney general in California. Again, putting black males in jail. Talking about racism. Let's talk about Joe Biden. Hung around Strom Thurmond. He hung around Robert KKK Byrd. In fact, he did the eulogy at Robert KKK Byrd's funeral. And he was also around there with people like George Wallace. These were all segregationists. Biden hung around those segregationists. Now, Biden believes that he can get away when it comes to race because he is a Democrat. I wish Trump had asked him, well, why did you tell Charlemagne the God when he was on air that if you don't vote for me, you ain't black? To me, that was a racist statement. And with that statement, going back to racism here, unfortunately, you got a lot of these old head African Americans who are dumber than a box of rocks, who still believe in civil rights. These old dinosaurs. A lot of them are your old baby boomers. They're going to vote Democrat anyway. Now, there is a mix between Gen Xers like myself and some of your millennials, particularly black men. And I urge all you black men out there to wake up, get off the Democratic plantation, because the Democratic plantation is not for you. Now, black women have benefited from the Democratic plantation, and black women will continue to support the Democratic Party because black women who are communists and socialists, they believe in big government. Yes, they may tell you how strong and independent they are. Now, I'm not saying all black women, but a number of them believe in government subsidies, because if they didn't, they would believe more in the nuclear family. They would believe more in fathers, but they don't, because they've been indoctrinated by this liberal media, this education system, religion, corporate jobs, and of course, government. But overall, looking at this debate, it was a much better debate. I enjoyed it. It had more substance. And I believe that tonight, the American people were winners. And I'm going to tell you something to a number of individuals who are living these cosmopolitan lifestyles out there. Individuals who live in the Midwest like myself, we're not deplorables. We know what's going on. We understand the issues. We understand them most likely better than you do. We understand hard work. We don't need the government. Living out in these non-populated areas, we understand how to get the job done. And tonight, again, I saw capitalism versus socialism. Now, here's what has to happen going forward. Trump has to continue to lay out his policies. We already know what he did before. Now, going back to the coronavirus, he talked about a vaccine. I still haven't heard a plan by Joe Biden, except he wants a national shutdown until the coronavirus goes away. Well, that doesn't make any sense, because in the long run, each state is different. In fact, Governor Kristi Noem in South Dakota, while all this coronavirus was going on, South Dakota was not shut down at all. Why? Because, okay, South Dakota doesn't have as many people, and number two, the virus didn't affect them like a New York, an LA, a Chicago. Now, even in some of the red states like Florida, Texas, the coronavirus spiked, but it has gone down. But right now, if you look in Europe, the coronavirus is starting to spike up again. But getting back to the economy, I didn't hear Joe Biden talk about his tax plan. But from him doing his small rallies or being on the air with George Stephanopoulos of ABC, he really wants to raise taxes. He wants the Green New Deal. Joe Biden is taking his marching orders from the big donors. Joe Biden is taking his marching orders from the radical left. He may not be a lefty, but he is taking his marching orders from the radical left. And China wants him to be president because they can get over on Joe Biden. Joe Biden has been in politics for almost 50 years. He could have done something. He failed at running president the first 2 times. In fact, the second time, he plagiarized someone else's work. And it sounded today that he was repeating what Trump has already done. Go back to the slogan, "Make America Great Again." He talks about build back better. Well, it's basically the same thing that Trump has already done. And he also said something when it came to the immigration and the law. He didn't need to take any lecture, or he didn't need a lecture from the president. Now, when I heard that comment, that lets me know that individuals today don't respect the office. Now, he's trying to get in office to be president. Now, I did see his face, did hear his voice. He did stumble a little bit. He hung in there for an hour and a half. Now, the good thing about this debate, there wasn't a bunch of talking over one another. Now, the moderator did cut Trump off from making his points. I didn't like that. Now, somebody like me, I would have had Joe Biden answer more questions on what went on with Ukraine, because Joe Biden, tried to bring up the bounty in Ukraine with Trump. But Biden didn't want to answer the question when it came to his family enriching themselves. And I do believe that Biden is a corrupt politician. Most politicians are corrupt because there's a lot of big money involved with politics. But in the end, when it comes to a debate, most of us should have our minds made up on who we want to be president. But there's still a number of us out there. But going over to review some more information, there was nothing asked about the police. There was nothing asked about white supremacy. There was nothing asked about what's going on in these Democratic states. Joe Biden kept on saying he's American. He's not for the red states. He's not for the blue states. But the economy would be much better if the blue states were functioning. The economy would be much better if the blue states wouldn't impose lockdowns. The blue states are the ones that have the highest population. They have the highest taxes. And there are a number of individuals who are leaving the blue states. But in the end, like I'm saying, what I'm saying about this debate, I did see a contrast between the two gentlemen. Now, I don't dislike Biden. I don't dislike Trump. But my vote did go to Trump. I believe that Trump is the better person to be in the presidency. I felt a little bit more, I'm using the word felt, but I felt a little bit more reassured. He came across that he knew what he was talking about when it came to the issues of getting kids back to school, economy, energy. I wish he would come out with a health care plan. That's the only area I see that Trump is weak. Needs to come out with a health care plan. Joe Biden wants socialized medicine. Because he can tell me he has a plan all he wants. No, he wants socialized medicine. Again, when it comes to fracking, Joe Biden, he doesn't want fracking. Kamala Harris doesn't want fracking. But I'm going to tell you this. A Biden-Harris administration is going to destroy this country. Because again, let me throw energy back into the mix. The reason why our gas prices are down is because the regulations are gone. Trump has imposed tariffs on China. So when you impose tariffs on China, and that includes companies who are American who are over in China and they try to come back here, you impose those tariffs, it's going to make companies think twice before leaving going to China. Also, that's going to keep companies making steel and making other raw materials and the products here in this country. You need products to be made here in America. Now, also on the energy front, Biden mentioned labor. Let's talk about labor unions. Remember, that was code speak. The Democrats follow the lead of the labor unions, the celebrities, the media, the billionaires like George Soros, the billionaires like Bill Gates. These are the individuals that have a lot of influence with the policy. Make no mistake. Yet Trump could have gone out and raised a heck of a lot of money, but Trump has been fighting the media. He's been fighting his own party. He's been fighting the Democratic Party. He's been fighting big money. He could have taken big money. He knows a lot of people on Wall Street, but he didn't. Now, he's not perfect, but as a black man, he is fighting for us. And I got more out of listening to him than I would in Obama. Obama gives a good speech, but Obama didn't do anything for African Americans. Now, I will tell you this. If you're going to get involved in politics, again, you got to have an agenda. It's got to be financed. It's got to be organized. When it comes to African Americans, I'm going off topic a little bit. Most of us don't know about politics. And most of us are going to stay on a Democratic plantation because we're uneducated. We believe in what the Democrats say because the Democrats make a lot of promises. They never deliver, but they come around every 4 years looking for our vote. Well, this election, it's not going to work. And I see in the black community, there's going to be a divide politically. A number of black males, particularly the younger black males, who have more sense than a number of these older black males. And I want to tell you younger black males something. Don't listen to anything that these older black dinosaurs tell you when it comes to politics, because they're finished. They still believe we're living in the 1960s. Now, somebody like me, I'm on your side. Listen to me, because I don't even listen to these elder males because they don't know anything about politics. Yes, they marched, they got sore feet, but in the end, you look at what's going on today. We still have high crime in the black community, high out of wedlock pregnancies, abortion, welfare state, no families. Furthermore, we got no economy. Now, I know Ice Cube is trying to put out information, but in the end, when it comes to getting our point across in politics, we got to run for politics, but we got to have an agenda. It's got to be well organized and well financed. Now, going back to the debate, overall, it was a pretty good debate. Got a chance to hear both candidates, but in the end, I've already voted. But the rest of you who haven't made your mind up, I hope tonight gave you an indication on who you want to run this country. Because, from my humble opinion, you put the Democrats in power, we lose this country. You keep it the way it is now, it'll be okay for the next 4 years. Because the question I have to ask for you, the question I'm going to ask, do you want freedom or do you want tyranny? You be the judge. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. And if you're looking for some science, technology, engineering, and math, check out the Mind of STEM channel. Give you a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. And I talk about subjects like engineering and chemistry. And if you're looking for some decent or some deep topics, check out my Blog Talk Radio show, 215-383-5785. And if you can't find me on Blog Talk Radio or YouTube, simply check me out on Twitter and Facebook. And at the end of the day, I'm going to leave you with this. Be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Always know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Now, also, here on my channel, you can donate. I'm going to put all the links at the bottom of all of my videos. Now, what I'm going to do is keep everything free. I'm not going to do any live panels. I'm going to just do content. And I'm not going to get on anybody's panels. I believe information should be free. And I'm here on YouTube to give you information that you can live with. Because information is power. But again, if you want to donate, have a PayPal account, a Venmo account, and I also have a Cash App. But again, going over tonight's debate, it's a pretty good debate, but I believe President Trump won that debate on substance because this country is about all of us. I don't want to live in tyranny, and I don't care which side of the aisle you're on. We have an opportunity. It's up to you to take the opportunity. Again, thank you for listening to this edition of the 401 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. I want you all to have a wonderful and blessed night. God bless you. I'm out.